kings. I call you queens for joining us today on Queen Motivator, along with She Wins Network. This is our series called The Isms. The last month we talked about racism, generational racism in the military. This time we're talking about sexism and classism. And we're going to have April Harris that's going to lead us in today's session. We have Olivia here, Olivia Nunn here. She's with Soldier for Life podcast and program, and she's an officer in the U.S. Army. There's some of us that are military, some of us that aren't. Queen Motivator does amazing work with African American women and soldiers, giving them resources and information. She Wins is a program that we have empowering women through their journey. It doesn't matter if you are a housewife, leader, or in the military. We're here to support you, provide you with information, and we also provide master classes and connecting women globally, and sharing and pouring into women so they can achieve their highest self. And what money we raise, we help for homeless women veterans. And we want to thank you all, ladies. Before we get started in today's session, we're going to be asking everyone to mute their mics at the moment. And then if anyone wants to join into the conversation, we ask you to raise your hand with the raise hand icon on the screen. So we're going to, I'm going to turn it over to, I'm going to introduce Tony, and then we'll turn it over to April, who is going to be guiding us on today's talk. So today's talk, we talk about sexism first. We'll get scenarios, and April is going to guide you all on how we're going to act out and how we're going to address these issues. Then we'll go ahead and do Q&A. Then we'll go into the second session, which will be focusing on classism. Classism and sexism are different things that affect us in our society as women. It even sometimes starts even at an adolescent age. So we're going to talk about that, how to navigate through it and different things of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Tony. Tony's going to tell a quick synopsis of who she is. Tony, you want to jump on and tell everybody about yourself before we get and introduce April?
I'm just talking.
Hey,
how y'all doing? And thank you for being here today. I'm Tony Williams, also known as Queen Motivator. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. I am an advocate for veterans in the DC area, DC metro area, and I am the founder of Queen Motivator LLC, which provides resources for the Black woman veteran and her allies. I do a lot of community work, and that's actually how I met Mo, also known with her organization, She Wins. I mean, that's a little bit about me.
She does amazing work and a lot of outreach, and I always am honored to partner with her to do these series to talk about issues that affect us as women. And just, and a global stance, to talk about these issues. In order for us to be the change, we have to be able to discuss these and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So these are some of the talks we're going to talk about, and we're going to go ahead and turn it over to April so she can go ahead and tell us more about herself and how she's going to lead us in our first topic of sexism.
Pleasure to be here as always, Mo. Tony, I appreciate the invite and opportunity. So about 2012, I started on my journey of healing. One of my beautiful sisters, Alicia, we met, I don't know, about 2013 or 14, about that time on my journey. And so I'm searching for non-traditional. I'm searching for something that's going to work, and I want a quick fix because I got 2 kids, I'm in the military, and I got to get this healing thing done. This is my mentality. On this journey, I come across some kind of a variation of psychodrama, and I just fall in love. Psychodrama, the whole drama piece of it, gave me an opportunity to regain my voice. It gave me an opportunity to embody my healing. It gave me an opportunity to be the observing ego where someone else played me and I got to see my scene play out. It was one that was absolutely phenomenal, and it was with 2 participants, both female in college at the time, and they were both white, and they were going to play my children. Of course, my children are Black and they're males. We started the scene up, and when I tell you, it did not matter. It was their work because it's all improv. So they're giving me from their perspective, but the perspective of a child. And some of their stuff got mixed into there, but when you start to do it, it doesn't matter. And from there, it started the rebuilding of the relationship with my two sons. And so after that, I was hooked. So then I started on the journey. I started doing some theater of the oppressed. So theater of the oppressed didn't sit well with me because it was really about the oppressee versus the oppressor. There was no dialogue. There was just almost like retribution. So you got the opportunity to yell at whatever this thing was. And for me, it was the institution of the Army. But it just didn't sit well with me because it may have helped me, but it wasn't gonna help others. I was getting ready to work this out, but there was something missing. So I said, what if we take this and I'm working with the oppressor? What if this is the dialogue that we need to make change? Again, I can vent and say what happened to me, but the other side of it is, why didn't you do your part? And without the dialogue, just the retribution, that wouldn't have happened. So then I come across theater for the living. And theater for the living, there is no bad guy. Both roles are played. It's a story. A group of people work in power play, and from power play, we would develop a story. Now, it could have been my story, but when we put it together, it becomes the community story. Nobody owns it. And at no time do you ever play yourself because you go into this character and you have to own it, whether you're considered the good guy or the bad guy. And so that's theater for living. Now, what's the relevance of all of this and sexism? At some point, we're gonna have true dialogue in order to fix what's broken. That's not me, if we're talking about racism, taking accountability for what's going on, or me answering for that for whoever it has these is the racist. But it's us coming together and talking about it. Me being able to listen to why you may use the word nigger and me not being offended. That's the kind of dialogue. That's the kind of theater that this is. It's about consequences in the community. It's about the community taking accountability and coming together and the responsibility to move forward. So I'm gonna give you an example, and we're taking this from the headlines. Hey, it's good to see you. I see that you're going to thinking about joining in the Marines.
Something like that.
I'm not really sure about that. I hope the best for you, but I know that you happen to be gay. You're Black. You see what's going on in the military right now. It's a man's world. You could get hurt.
I mean, I could, but I won't know until I try.
Yeah, but are you willing to risk your life? And I'm not talking about your life for your country. I'm talking about because you got crazy people that are working with you, and these men dominate, and most of them are white. Why would you want to put yourself in that situation?
I've been in that situation my whole life.
That's crazy. Whatever happens to you, you deserve, because you're going in it with your eyes wide open, and you know that you're taking responsibility. Why would you want to do that?
I take risks all the time. Why not?
So at this point, we've put on together like maybe a 2-minute play, and you don't want it any longer than that. So we have this conversation. I don't know, what role do you guys think I'm playing?
That sounds like a parrot. Don't do that. That's a terrible idea.
So, like a parent.
Yeah.
Lori, would you like to? Where does it sound like to you?
You'll be blowing me out.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
You don't make me get engaged. I am trying to listen and not participate as much. But of course, it's someone that's trying to keep you from going after your dreams. Someone that's trying to prevent you from elevating. Because actually, my experience of joining the Marine Corps was that. They just outright was telling me, Lord, you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. What was you thinking? You don't even let your mama tell you what to do. I got all of that. So I really shut down the conversation and stopped communicating what I was going to do. And when I left to join the Marine Corps, nobody knew until I came back in uniform.
Okay, so this is the point of and the reason why it's 2 minutes. So it's all improv, but this is the point where we now turn it over to forum theater. Forum theater is where the spectators are actually come to stage and become spectators. So someone would like to volunteer to either play my role, Tony's role. Now I will tell you what's important about this is there is no quick fix. You don't get to come and fix the issue magically. But you have to understand the character, either one's perspective, their struggle. You got to be able to play in the space that the character has already developed. Talking to Tony again. At the point where somebody wants to jump in, you can hold up your hand. And if we were in the theater, you would yell stop. At that time, the director, the Joker, I'm actually playing both, will then bring you up to the stage, and then you'll take over the part of the play from wherever you want to take over. So me and Tony will go through it again. Hey, it's good to see you. How you doing?
Hey, good to see you as well.
So I hear you're joining the Marines. What's up with that? I
mean, the baddest, the baddest.
But you see, people are getting killed. I don't understand why a Black woman that's gay. Why would you want to do that?
We run the world anyway. Why not join the Marines?
That's crazy. I just don't understand that. I don't understand why people are putting themselves in unnecessary harm. I just don't understand.
Well, we don't know what type of harm it is until we get there, right?
But this harm is being perpetrated by those that you serve with. This is not even the enemy.
They do it the same thing in society.
I don't know. It's your choice, your decision.
I mean, it's some type of consistency, right?
Yeah. Got to do what you got to do. So normally somebody would have jumped in and took over the role. Now, there are times when people, because it could be because the community has determined that this is the issue, the community has brought forth this issue. So everybody that's in the audience is well aware of what's going on in their community, i.e. the group of people that's sitting here today, very well of the issues that are going on. At that point, we say, someone's already said that could be the role of the mother. I could have been a mentor. I could have been a coach. I could have been a leader. This didn't even have to be military. This could be corporate. You want to go to a new department. You want to move up in the job. This could be somebody that's getting ready to transition out the military, and this is the kind of advice they're getting. So we've seen this person that I'm portraying in the news. It's not about the person when you do this dialogue. It's not even, no one's right or wrong. How do we, as leaders, and every one of us on here are leaders, how do we either deal with a peer that's equal to us that has these views, or someone that maybe we've seen being damaged by these because we work in the same company or we're in the same unit? We see that their behavior is affecting people's progress, who gets certain positions and jobs. How do we work with that? And that's the most important thing, because we can't necessarily change their views. We can chew them out. We can say nasty things to them. And that's what's really been going on, calling them stupid and all this kind of thing. That's irrelevant. They have this view. Do we think that this view is detrimental to the progression of women in any environment?
So I want to ask you, April, if you could select 2 other women in the group to you give them the scenarios and let them act it out.
Absolutely. So Lori and Alicia, y'all decide which one of the roles. How you doing, Ms. Jones? Decide which of the roles you want to take.
Hey.
And just like we played it.
Ms. Jones in the house. Okay. All right. So Alicia and I are doing it. I don't see Alicia. Let me see who Alicia is.
Moody.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's on.
Sorry, I logged off and I had to log off and come back in.
So you've been volunteered to play one of the roles, either one. You guys pick.
Okay, what roles are there?
And so it's either going to be someone that's giving advice, and then you have someone that's wanting to join the Marines.
Okay.
Now remember, the topic again is sexism right now that we're focusing on.
Okay. Okay. Lori, do you have a preference?
No, ma'am, I don't. I'm just trying to get myself all
Hey, beautiful.
better sound. Trying to see if I can get better sound going.
Okay.
Can y'all hear me better?
And remember, you're playing it from the perspective of the character, the struggle that has already been said.
I mean, I would be actually a good candidate to be interviewed. I'll put it like that because I can give a true story on it.
Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
So hey, our close friend Patricia told me that you're thinking about joining the Marine Corps.
Yes. Girl, I got to get out of here. The hood is about to take me down. I'm on my way to jail if I don't do something. And so, you know, I've had a real talk with myself, and I really need to grow up a little bit. So out of all the branches of the military to join, the guys that I know, they told me and the Marine Corps was a match, even though I ain't ever met a woman Marine before. But I think I can do this.
Yeah, I get that, but like you said, you've never met a woman Marine before. So like,
No.
what makes you think that you can go in there and make it happen? Like, why?
Well, that's the part where I'm unsure. I just know I got to make some changes, you know, and I don't like how things are. And both of these dudes, you know, they're part of my life. They don't know each other, but amazingly, both of them thought that I was a good match for the Marine Corps. Now they served, so they know about what it is to be a Marine. And I just asked, I said, there's women in the Marine Corps? They said, yeah, Lord, there's women in the Marine Corps. If you're going to join the military, that's the branch you need to go into. So I'm kind of leaning in on just knowing them and trusting it, man. I just know I got to make some changes. I got to make some changes.
But I still don't know. You know, traditionally women are weaker than men, and you know, like you have your period. Like, how are you gonna deal with that if you're out there trying to fight a war? Do you even know how to shoot a gun? And like all these sexual assault cases going on in there. I just feel like, you know, as us being the weaker sex, like I just don't know if that's advisable.
I got you, and I feel you. I mean, and I mean, I get you. I mean, you know, and I'm considered this pretty girl, which I ain't had nothing to do with that. That was mom and daddy coming together. I ain't have nothing to do with that. But who I am inside, you know, I can roll a little bit. I can rock. You know, I grew up with my two older brothers and my dad, so I know the whole male role, and so I'm not intimidated by men, you know. So I mean, I'm thinking that all those little things are gonna make a difference. And I've always been a tomboy. You know, always been rough around the edges. You know, my mom was like, girl, would you please come in here and learn how to wear this dress? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to climb a fence. I mean, so I always had this little, you know, mixture going on with me. And so I'm thinking I can pull this off. I can pull this off. But, you know, I'm telling you, you're making me feel like I need to stop talking about it because, you know, I don't need the negativity from my friends. I need y'all to support me, man. I really need y'all to support me.
So at this point, we'd say stop again, because there's been enough dialogue that we can pull from right in just what was talked about. So Alicia and I happen to know Alicia, so I don't believe that our views are the same as the one that we're portraying.
No.
Was absolutely not hardcore and as blatant as it was stated, but there's something within me that connected with that. And that's why this work is so amazing, is because I absolutely, when I saw it, said bullshit. But we have to go back, and it doesn't matter how she feels, he or she feels, but how do we work in the constraints that they have established, their behaviors? You know, she might not put you in a position that you need to get promoted because she might want to keep you safe. You know, she that you'll be in harm's way if she puts you there. If we don't talk about this, she may think she's a phenomenal leader and she was trying to protect us or protect women, but truly it's just the opposite. And I think, Lori, you were saying, man, I don't even want to talk about this no more. Well, I mean, we're here to pump each other up, and as leaders, we motivate people, but that behavior is not acceptable. And then, oh, by the way, we get mad because, or upset or confused because it's coming from a woman. But it very well could be a narrative. I mean, she could be taught that. She could have had a situation. I mean, she's a lieutenant colonel. She could have had a situation, and this is coming back on her. But again, when we come into the places where we are this behavior is being demonstrated as leaders, as receivers of it, sometimes we don't understand how it molds us and our views, and then how that rolls downhill to the people that we're mentoring. It could be our kids. It could be a brother or sister that's trying to do something. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the format that we're talking about. So sometimes we look at situations and say, oh, that has nothing to do with me. But if you step back and kind of put yourself in that role, you'd be like, oh man, I did that. I think a lot of people are re-examining their behaviors right now. Man, I didn't know that I was really, I'm against that, but maybe I've been promoting it just, by my behaviors. And again, in this work, guys, no one is ever right or wrong. It's to open up the dialogue. And so when I first started doing this, I said, man, this will be amazing for veteran women, because I came across so many of us that were upset. We had a right to be, but you can't go to Capitol Hill pissed off. And I think our wonderful Ms. Jones has said it before. You can be passionate, but you can't be pissed off. So we got to figure out how to come together as a community and do our work and take it to the top, because none of us can do this alone. And it's going to take all women. So, the civilian women as our allies. So this kind of work is just phenomenal. It really brings out issues. And again, we want to try to do our work at the organism level, and then bring it up to the community. And then we have this tribe, and we just start to work together. Until we do that, I think we're really spinning around in circles.
So I wanted to switch roles, because also we want to look at also outside of just the military, other communities. So let's look at another stereotype. Let's take Michelle, since she just jumped on with us. Let's take Michelle. Let's take Olivia and put them in a scenario, Coach. Go ahead. Let's look at corporate America or something else, or even kids on the playground. Let's look at it that way.
You want to do kids on the playground?
Let's try that.
So again, with this work is, as a director, you only direct what the team has come together. So really, you've already heard what the scenario is, Olivia and Michelle, and you just go from there. And that's just how the work works. So we're still talking about the topic of sexism, right, Mo?
Yes, we're still on sexism. So that's the main topic. Keep that in mind. And which scenario do you want them to do? Playground? Kids?
Michelle, what part do you want to play?
I'll play the opposite of me. Of me as a little girl. I'll play the kid that the little boy. No, I'm not going to play the little boy. I'm going to play the little girl that thinks little girls only need to play with dolls and stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, why are you playing over there with those boys? You should be over here with us. We've got our dolls, and we're doing their hair and changing their clothes. And why are you over there with those boys?
Because I think those dolls are kind of boring, and I want to go check out that really cool, fun jungle gym over there, and I want to try it out because it's cool.
Well, like, girls don't do that kind of stuff. Boys do.
Well,
it's not like us.
But I never not saw a girl do it, so why can't I do it?
Because we don't do that stuff. That's what my mom says. And that's what my dad says. My mom doesn't do the same thing that the boys do, that my dad does. And so, I see her, she doesn't do that kind of stuff. So, she sews and she cooks and she keeps everything clean and stuff. And Dad does all the outside stuff with the boys, with my brothers.
Well, I guess my parents are different because my parents told me to get my butt outside and to go try new things, and I could do it with the dress on. So I just don't want to play with girls because they're kind of not nice to me, and I don't like dolls because they don't look like me, so I don't want to play with the dolls. And my dad said that I could do anything that those boys can do, so I think I should try it.
Stop. So Michelle and Olivia, we're going to fast forward 20 years. You guys are in the military. Michelle, you're a nurse, and Olivia, you're a fighter pilot. And you guys come across each other. You haven't seen each other since the playground.
Well, I see you haven't changed too much. You're like still doing the stuff that boys do.
Yep,
See
she
ya.
hasn't changed at all, but I can say that I truly believe that girls can do anything, and people are changing the paradigm, and we're creating new ways, and nobody said that I can't do what a guy can't do.
Well, I kind of get that, but my question to you is this: why does it seem like women that are like in your career field always look down at us women who are in traditional career fields in the military, like the nursing, like the medical profession? You guys always have this attitude like you guys are better than us. Why is that?
I mean, because we kind of are, though, because we took a stance and we went after the hard things and said that we can do it. And so we were courageous. And so therefore we are better and our jobs are cooler.
Okay, so I'm just going to say this, and it may not come out wrong, but I'm going to say it, because I see my friends, they also believe this, and it's posted and it's all over social media. So you're going in these boys men's field, and then you get pissed off when there's a whole lot of men and they come on to you and say things to you sexually, but you put yourself in that situation. So I don't see why you're complaining.
So Diana, come in. You're a leader of this organization, and you've seen some
Great.
you've seen some conflict going on with these different views. And again, nobody's right or wrong. And so you're coming in with your views to this scenario. Bring it in.
Well, I see that the two of you have known each other off and on through your lives. And while that's good, on the one hand, you both have preconceived notions. And I would invite you to take a look that both of you have big contributions to make, and nobody goes to war by themselves. And that's whether you're a nurse or you're a fighter pilot. So the only show that's out there that does that is called Naked and Afraid. So if you are going into the military, regardless of the field that you're in, you are going with a mail service and a food service and uniforms and transportation and a myriad of other things that help make your job possible, and a whole lot of people that support it. So you're both incredibly valuable. If you get shot down, she's going to save your life. And if you're caught in the behind the lines trying to save somebody's life, she's going to fly you out. So you have to rely on one another, and it's really important to learn those values are equal, and that somebody that's back stateside making sure that y'all get your paychecks and that your families are taken care of while you're out on a deployment are just as valuable, because they don't have to be combat to be just as important as somebody in combat. So I would invite you to talk to each other a little bit more about why you're both important, if you could do that for a minute.
Michelle, can you hear her? I mean, not literally, but I'm saying, is what she's saying, how's that sitting with you?
I mean, it is saying it is okay, Michelle, in terms of
I didn't mean to say.
No, that's okay. Michelle, in terms of the leader, I hear it very clearly. However, Michelle is in a realist in terms of how a lot of people think, unfortunately. They still, I mean, it's I call it the elitist within any military branch, be it Army, Marine Corps, whatever. There is a culture of elitism among all career fields, and it just gets perpetrated even more amongst the genders, if you will. Men do it and women do it. You'll hear men say something like, well, yeah, she's really cool because she deployed with us, versus she's cool because she works in, you know, whatever, the medical field, and she didn't deploy. She works at the hospital. You know, so it's perpetuated throughout. So as a leader, that is very, it's true. Both contribute. However, the reality of the culture of the military is that it really isn't gender-based per se. It is based on career field. But when you have two women saying it, it becomes women in combat role or combat experience versus women that are not. And it's very real, but it doesn't become a career. It's not a career field issue at that point. When two women are discussing it, it becomes a gender issue. And that is what, you know, my experience tells me when I was in, and that is still prevalent right now. That is a real conversation. And it's something else I want to add, but I'll add it later in terms of the political piece. If something's going on that I want to share with you guys, but you know, I'll share it later on.
So Diana, you're a leader, and we are now understanding that the military, the organizations are structured, their policies, procedures, and their hierarchy are really structured to facilitate discriminating behavior.
Yeah, they are.
So what do you do with that as a leader in that organization? Because now I know we've all had leadership classes. At any time, has anyone ever said that? Now, whether or not we know it, has anyone ever said that to open up the discussion so that we as leaders can understand that, and then we go out and do what we need to do with a different perspective?
Yeah, I think that part of it, April, is that younger women are really flexing their muscles about combat, and they're attacking each other a lot. You see it all over the internet now. You see it all through social media, and it's like, could you guys like try to elevate each other a little bit with this? Because exactly what Michelle said is true. Going after each other. You know, the guys used to say, "Hey, if you were stateside, screw you. You didn't. You know, you're not a combat vet. I don't have to put up with you." The women are really bad about this, and it's like, oh my God. Why would you do that to one another? This is such a hypermasculine approach, and it's boiling down to being very much a gender attack on women. And then when you ask them, because I do ask them this, I said, do you think you're equal in the military? And they say, oh yeah, because, you know, we get paid the same, we can go for the same jobs. And I'm like, really? You think that? You think because you're a captain and you all get paid as a captain that you're equal? Yeah. And we can go for all the same jobs. And then I try to inform them that there's a difference between equity and equality. And that if you are a minority person, if you're an LGBTQ person, that you are going to have a greater strife in trying to make those jumps. That's why we want gender and race and nationality and all of these things removed from promotion packets so that you're going in on your merit exclusively. We don't want your weight on there. We don't want your height on there. Does this person meet height and weight requirements is all that needs to be there, or they wouldn't be at the promotion board, because we're not going to overcome these things when we have corporate America and the military both saying, well, we've got one of those. Oh, you have a woman 2-star general, or you have a woman 4-star general, which is why we're not going to get half of the Joint Chiefs as women, which is why as long as there is a discrimination based on women having families, and women are leaving the service in droves. It's like as soon as their time is up, they're hitting the door. They're finding every hole out of the building. And it's like, we can't be doing that. We should have hit that, any of you who are sociologists, if we should have hit that 33% mark by now, which would have started bending social justice in the military, it would have started bending that culture change that we've been striving for a very long time. But until you get that point, you just can't get there. So yeah, these equity and equality things are a big problem.
So we, after the conclusion of this, Mo would take over with a facilitation of the true sexism and classism. The whole idea of theater for living is to look at it from someone else's perspective. Again, we're not talking about right or wrong. We're talking about how are we going to manage to resolve this? We have got to sit down and come up with a plan. We are all over the place and we don't have a plan. Again, we have two people that are productive, they're getting promoted, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they have totally different views. A lot of it came from their environment and how they were raised. So when we come into the military, especially the Army, and I still remember riding down the road and seeing the Army values. I remember that. When I got to a senior level position, I'm saying we're bringing in people that don't believe in those values. So how do I hold them accountable when they come from abusive situations or, they've been male dominant and I'm telling you, go get it. And we're telling them to stand up and fight for your rights. Again, we don't know their narrative, but we're kind of grouping everybody together and making this thing work. Again, and Mo and I have had this discussion many times. I wanted to work as from a perspective of a subordinate, much like what Michelle was talking about. But when you look at it from a leadership perspective, I got to be a realist. The shit is broke, but I need my people to do what they. Do I lie to them? And I asked my mentor that at one time. I said, do I lie to them? How are you getting people this bullshit? It's broken. I can hold it together while I'm in the position, but I tell my team when I leave, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do for you. So how do we survive in an environment like that?
Well,
because again, we're talking about the sexism, but it's the fallout of the behavior from the discriminatory practices.
One of the things, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, finish. Go ahead.
One of the things that, true, everything that you just said is true. However, part of, and someone wiser than me when I was a young command sergeant major, first time I had a battalion, okay, our first battalion. And I said, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go up to the brigade because I was there as a first sergeant and then I got promoted to command sergeant major, okay? So now I've got all the company. And I made the changes, okay, first in my company and then across the battalion. And things were the way they should have been. And I had great teams. I didn't do it by myself. Make no mistake, okay? Now, also keep in mind, when I first came in the Army, I came in the Army as a paralegal. So I knew the institution in which I served. You see what I'm saying? Knowledge is power, but knowledge is power only when you share it. And I always say that. So when I was being nominated, if you will, or considered for the brigade CSM position, I said I didn't want to go. But a wiser person than me said, if you can make change here, the further up you go, you can continue to do that. And not only that, but the most important thing is really, and this is what I say about leadership, is really the legacy, okay? I can tell you how to do something all day long, and the same thing is in the Bible. The Lord is going to give you the tools and teach you how to use them so you can, like I said, I can't remember the whole story. I'm not that verse in the Bible, but I am very, very religious. When, I can give you a fish or I can teach you how to fish. Okay. And it's the same thing as a leader. So you do make your mark. You're not going to be able to do everything. I'm not going to be here always. Same thing I tell my children. I'm not going to be here to take you by the hand every single day. But I got to teach the same people or people within my responsibility to do the things that I do, not the way that I do them all the time, but in order to get things done. So I know that has happened, okay? Because if it had not happened, those young E4s and E5s and those young captains and lieutenants wouldn't have made first sergeant and command sergeant majors, and colonels and general officers, if they had not stuck to some of the leadership skills that I taught. Not saying that it's perfect, because it's far from it, but you do make your mark. That's one way. And I have to trust and believe, and I know for a fact that if you were that kind of leader, when you left, someone, maybe not all of them, but every position that you have, there should be at least 5 people that can do what you did and even take it to another level. So that's one thing I've always believed in every leadership position that I've ever had in my life. With that being said, you mentioned a part about, do you lie to them? I had never lied to a soldier. I never lied to a soldier. You have to tell them the truth the way that it is. And like, again, an old saying, you may have to back out of this battle, but that don't mean that you're going to lose the war. Some battles you can't fight then and there. Some battles are too tough within that particular situation, but that doesn't mean you do what you can. And sometimes you do have to move on. That's in corporate America too. It's true. So, in the positions that you're in, you do make a profound difference. You leave that legacy, to carry the mantle forward, and hopefully they do the same along the way. But there are leaders, and you mentioned that one person in position, pretty much, and we all know them. We got one female or 2 female, and they're so terrified because they got there that they don't want to help anybody else. They don't want to go against the tide. But you're going to find that all the time too. So again, what do you do? And the question is always, what can I do individually? And then what can I do collectively? And I always say, you don't have to work within that organization. You can find someone else like-minded outside of that entity to assist you in wherever you need to go. Sometimes I had to go outside to get what I needed, for those that I needed to represent, if you will. And just like, as we were listening to the role playing, there was always somebody that was on that opposing view.
Let me ask you this. Did somebody have a hand raised, Mo?
Oh, no, I wanted to get 2 more people to chime in on the perspective also, because we had Tracy sitting there. I would like to get Tracy and Tony and Olivia's feedback on this same topic, because I want to get different perspectives. But you definitely touched on something that was very important, and those are definitely some key jewels, Michelle, what you just dropped for us as leaders in a leadership role. And once we get the other perspectives of the other young ladies, we're going to start transitioning into classism, which plays a role in the combination of the racism from last month and everything that we've discussed. Because, before we even talked about unconscious biases, all of this falls under the whole perspective of that. These ideologies, these ideas in our mind that we've either been trained, grown up with, or experienced through, our journey in life. How do we break these chains? And we don't know what we don't know, So I want to get some feedback from Tracy first, since she's been sitting on the line, and Tony and Olivia, and then you can go ahead and do your thing, April. Tracy, if you can unmute yourself.
Okay, so I've been listening, and it's really interesting because I've looked back on my career. Okay, so I did 10 years in the Army, and I went from E1 to E5. So I learned those set of rules that I had to do to go up that way. And I thought that, yeah, I was equal because I was getting paid the same thing that a sergeant was getting paid, but only if that sergeant was single like I was, because if the sergeant was married, then he was getting more money. So, it was like, okay, I got this. So when I got out of the Army and then got into the government, especially the federal government, I had to go in and I had to rework my way again. So I had to learn the system of the government on how to get promoted. So I went from a GS6 to a GS13 where I retired from. But going up that step, I had to face all those isms while I was going. And it's amazing because as we sit here and talk, a lot of the government agencies are trying to hold quote unquote wards like the military, and they're getting that wrong. So it's like whatever we learn, we're going to have to relearn it because the skills that are being learned and taken from our former service members that go into the government and try and take the military standards into the government and then tweak it. Now it's all over the place. And I understand why now, especially female veterans say, oh, I can't hold down this job. I can't put up with this. I can't put up with that. Because it's a whole new different, and classism is a whole new different, and depending on what government agency you're in, you're going even to have even more obstacles. And I was in the intelligence community. That in itself, we know they can talk diversity. They don't have diversity. They don't have inclusion. But they take a survey every year that say, oh, we're getting better, we're getting better. I'm tired of surveys. I'm tired of task force. I'm tired of all that. When are we going to do it? And what do we need to get together to say now is the time to do it?
So Olivia, your role, the fighter pilot, who awards, accolades, progressing up the chart. You come across Tracy and you hear what she's saying. What do you tell her?
So I think obviously everything that you've experienced plays such a big part. And I think it's really like, how were you educated through that process? What was the opportunities that you saw growing up is, I think, the biggest part of that coloring. But I think the other part is, you're absolutely right. Within the military, we do have these levels and these classes, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so as I listen to you beautiful ladies talk and the experiences that I've had so far, what I come to the table with and what I kind of struggle with in trying to find that answer is, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what was the purpose of that defense service? Whether it was the Navy, the Marine, or the Army, the Coast Guard, etc. Each one of those services has a very distinctive mission for the United States. Mm-hmm. And then you have to ask yourself, minus what Hollywood tells you, minus what everybody else tells you, when you look at that core mission structure, is that mission really a good mission? Mm-hmm. And it really isn't. So how do you convince people to say that, yes, I believe in that mission and I'm going to be loyal to that mission and I'm going to execute that in a violent way to ensure that our country survives, that our people get to have all of these freedoms? And I know that each one of us here at this conversation are very familiar with that. I mean, we get what service to the country means. But, you know, it's that delicate balance of, why do we give such homage, if you will, to the infantry guy or to the special forces guy? It's not just about the male versus female. That's not the part that I'm getting at. I'm just saying, why do we say that you ain't shit unless you're this, right? You heard it when you're in cav, you heard it when you're in armor, because they have some of the crappiest missions, right? Hollywood makes it seem like, man, if you're a sniper, you're a badass. But you didn't talk about the number of days and hours that they literally stood or laid in shit, right? I don't know about you. I don't mind getting dirty, but that's not what I would love to do. So that's not a job for me. But to convince people to do it, we've got to make it amazing. So we're going to give you extra bonus pay. We're going to give you awesome badges, and we're going to say you're amazing. Now peel that back. How do you counter that with today's environment of inclusion, equality, right? How do you do that from a perspective of saying it's not about gender, it's about capability, man or woman, right? And that I think is a very tough place to get to because we have so many different shades to look through. You have what society tells each role to be, right? A male should be doing this, a female should be doing that. And now layer that with how you culturally were raised, layer that with what your religious practices are. And now you throw everybody together into one environment, say, go forth and conquer. So how do you effectively do that without losing sight of the core mission? And I truly believe that we can get to a place that we can figure that out, but I would be lying if I said that that would be easy. And I would be lying if we said that that could get fixed in the next year or two. It's not. You know, we have a young country, but it's still 200 and over years old that we have to figure out how to get there. And I would say that, you know, the military doesn't get it right all the time, but there's a lot of times that we do get it right. And that's why the nation looks to us when we talk about bringing in diversity, right? Because we did it through the military. We showed that it is about your character and not the color of your skin. I also say that in the breadth of we have our problems with racism, not even going to lie, but we've done a better job in so many different places. We have shown to society that your personal status of LGBTQ does not matter, right? I'm still going to judge and weigh you based on the character that you are, what you bring to the table. I could, you know, what you choose to believe in and do should not matter. And so we can show that, and we do that every single day. I think we have to be careful when we have these conversations that we cannot lose sight that we aren't trying to be corporate America. We have a mission, and that is to fix, find, and destroy the enemy, right? And that's a violent job. And so we have to maintain that violence in a way that makes sense. But how do we bring that softness, if you will? How do we bring that sense of love to each other so we can, you know, love each other through those lenses and value each other for what you bring? And, you know, regardless if my paycheck's the same as yours, I don't think paycheck is necessarily the conversation. I think it's, are you a valued member? You know, like that conversation I had earlier, you know, just because I'm a fighter pilot doesn't mean that I'm better than you as a nurse. You know, in fact, I would probably say, you know, but that's what's taught to us. I thought of that as a lieutenant. And then as I grew through the ranks, I realized, actually, you know what? Physically, it might be hard to be a fighter pilot, but dang, you know, it takes a lot more skill to be a nurse. And that is who we should be praising. But you've got to grow through that, right? It's the same thing as what you learned on the playground to now as an adult.
Exactly. Tony,
I'm going to be short. Is it my go?
Yes. Chime in. You know,
so as Olivia everyone was talking, I'm trying to take in everything, y'all. So the only thing that was running through my head was like feminism and environment and being safe. Like when it comes to feminism, the first thing that comes to my head is like a white woman and feminism when I think about equal pay and equal rights and all these things. And then I think about Alice Walker with womanism, coining that for Black women, because we're not trying to be equal to nobody. We're just trying to be portrayed as who we are. So with my responsibilities and my environment in the Marine Corps, it wasn't about the extra pay and, you know, what you, are you getting your buy? It was really about strength and enduring that and how you can keep Marines safe in a safe environment with dealing with your own shit. Mm-hmm. And I was always protecting. I worked for headquarters, so we were like the model Marines. We couldn't do any wrong. Everything was a cover up. And it was like, how do I continue my journey through this chaos? So I started to just utilize the knowledge that I had from growing up and then the leaders that I did have in creating a safe environment for women and for men, because it really wasn't a gender thing. It was more so who can do it better. And I made sure that I can do everything better than the males. My haircut was better than the males. My uniform was better than the males. I knew all the regulations. I made sure that even when I had room to talk shit, I made sure of that. So I created an environment in which I could be successful by utilizing and watching. I didn't play the game. Everybody was like, you need to play the game and you need to keep your mouth closed and you need to quit worrying about this. So everything they told me that I shouldn't do, I maximized on that. And I brought people with me who were going to back me. If my chief warrant officer wasn't going to back me, the CO of the battalion was going to back me. So I use it like I infiltrate it. If you tell me I can't do this, then I'm gonna find a loophole to where I can successfully guide not only myself, but these Marines that I'm leaving behind when I check out. So for me, yeah, like my mindset is like totally different. It didn't matter that somebody got paid more, because if they had kids and they was married, they had it worse than me. You know, they not only got to go home, they got to go home with everything else that they carry. So, yeah, I mean, when y'all were just talking about the women and combat and going against other women and things like that, I was one of the first part of the first women Marines to be accepted into infantry until I got injured and I couldn't do anything. But we weren't battling against each other. We were literally holding on together so no one can say that we were doing something wrong. So I learned how to be a team player, but not with the team that I got blessed with. I created a team, so that's how I was able to maneuver and be successful even when my promotions were being put under the table. My ribbons and my badges and all those things were not being given to me, but being given to rapists, to elevate their movement. It to this day is guilt, is sickening, is disgusting. And I still work with Marines to this day and mentor them through their stuff. So my advice is just don't go by what somebody else tell you, because piss poor leadership is real. And I had piss poor leadership in a lot of ways. So
this is Lori.
At the conclusion, I'm gonna turn it over to Mo. So Mo,
okay,
go right into classism if you want. The important thing is, since we did touch on classism, Olivia definitely said it. It's always a better than. Officer is better than enlisted. The doctors are better than the nurses or the cleaning people, or we get on this pedestal. And some people want to kiss a little more butt when it has a little more rank, and it's just the way it's been set up. If you got blonde hair, yeah, you're in there. You might be thinking things are sucking, but you ain't seen sucking. But the whole point of what Theater for the Living does is to open up the dialogue. So there's a piece that I do with storytelling, but storytelling is really to motivate movement. It's not so you can hear my story. It's for me to have a voice for those that don't have a voice. At no time is it for you just to be entertained. And I think we need to start doing more call to action. In anything we do, it should be ending with a call to action. So we have a very intelligent group of women here right now, very diverse in the military as well as our current occupations. And the thing is once we start to pull some of these things out, because I noticed each one of you guys said something that I could use as a checkbox for future movement. This could be something that we could try to put into place. That's the most important thing, is once we finish the dialogue, what are we going to do? We have talked and talked. And I think, Tracy, you said it too. No more studies, no more that. We see it's an issue. What are we going to do now? And if we, as the people, the victims, have the knowledge of, if we don't come together, and we all have to come, we got to have some perpetrators in there. Those oppressors need to be present so we can have a better understanding of their way, so that we can combat that. People are speaking up and people are getting pissed off because I like when people speak up, because I know where we stand. If you're a racist, I know where you stand. If you undercover, okay, then I'm just guessing. But I know how to handle a racist, because you are absolutely saying that you do not like me for whatever reason. I don't care. You don't need to articulate it, but I know I need to go around you. And so we just want to bring out this dialogue. We want to have the true dialogue. So when the plays are put together, and this is kind of obscure the way we did it, just because we can't be together. But when the plays are put together, you have to establish a space of safety.
Yeah.
We have to be able to experience vulnerability, and we have to be able to be raw. That means if I say something to Diana, or she happens to, I don't think she would, but the N-word happened to slip, that is not the place in where we attack her. That is the place where we start to go and do some role playing and get into the shoes and like let maybe whoever has said that N word and uses it frequently be in the role where it's being directed to. The embodiment of the work is crucial. You see, many people now are writing and say, man, I didn't even think about that. I didn't think it affected you like that. First of all, you never asked, but we can't get mad because why would they ask if they didn't think it affected us? But if I get to stand there and tell you, and the reason why I did this is because I said, what if I could put on these performances if Obama was in office, and I said, President Obama did a phenomenal job at setting up whatever rules and regulations. I want him to play a person that's been hurt, utilizing his rules and regulations. I want you to maneuver through the system that you built. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, because we need these people as allies. But I'm saying you put up some great rules. They look good up there, but down here, we're trying to utilize them and they're not keeping us safe, or they're not helping us to maneuver the system, or the IG system is broke. We can say that, but what's broke about it? What's the root cause? Where's the breakdown at? Is it because one person didn't get the information somewhere because they had control? There's no oversight? These are the things that we begin to break down as we have these conversations. And so I'm looking forward to doing more theater for living. They do it in Canada. They've done it with their drug. They've done it with their homelessness. They've done it with closing down the facilities for mental illness, and everyone is on the street. And you don't have actors. It's the people that's playing it. It's the community that's playing the roles. And to me, it just opens up a voice.
And the whole reason why I even wanted us to do this is because sometimes we tiptoe around subjects. And I think sometimes when we act them out and you can see them, because it's more intense when we're face to face. Because I had to do one talking about childhood trauma with a relationship between my mother and me, you know, African culture and things, all those different things that play a role with traditions in your life as an adolescent. And she actually played me and I played my mother. And it definitely helps you break down walls, and also helps with healing and helping you to understand different perspectives of other people. And this can be applied in any different situation or scenario in life. And also as executives, you can do this with HR issues or different things when you're dealing with employees. So I think it's a very effective tactic to use in any situation. And for people that are tuning in that will see this later, sexism is actually defined as a prejudice, stereotype and discrimination typically against women, biased by sex. And a lot of different things. Oh, thank you, Diana, for sending that. And a lot of us have dealt with a form of sexism. Men even deal with a form of sexism, different things. So everyone has dealt with it. Maybe you haven't, or maybe you ignored it. But for us to define it, show you physically what it looks like through these demonstrations is enabling us to break down these walls and these barriers. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to transition into classism. So classism is something that, like, again, had dealt with it when you were a child. You might have had dealt with it in your culture, from where you come from your background, from your state. You know, you got people that classify you because you're a New Yorker. You're like this, you know, you're DC, you know, you're Bama, what, you know, whatever, or you down south, your country, you know, or, you know, you hang around these people. So, you know, you a hooker, you know, or you're poor. So, you know, you're a honky, you know what I'm saying? You're a honky, or you're white trash, or you're poor, you're ghetto, you know, or, you know, different things, and they classify you this, or you're too smart, you're a geek, so you can't hang around us because we're the jocks, you know, you can't hang around us because you're a nerd, or you're too skinny, you don't have, you know, the body like us or whatever, you know, so you can't hang around, or you're not pretty enough to do this or do that, and putting people in boxes. And sometimes these roles play a part as we grow in our journey. So some of these stigmatisms or these different ideologies are in our minds when we're at a young age, and we carry them as we grow into adults. And then as we become parents, or if we are parents, or we're even dealing in relationships, or dealing with people at work, some of these things are still stuck in our mind. why am I classifying these people or putting these people in a box? For what reason? So let's get into these scenarios, and we're going to go ahead and throw it back to April, and let's pick random people, different people for this next scenario, and you pick the stereotype, and let's kind of venture, let's explore not just the military, but let's explore other avenues. Let's go, April.
So, matter of fact, Tracy, you wouldn't mind kicking us off. And again, this is outside of the military. A few of us have already retired out, and we're doing stuff either in corporate, nonprofit. But I just look, Tracy, someone comes up to you and you high speed, the military pays hundreds of thousands of dollars for our training. We should be squared away when we come out. But you know what, your resume, you got that in the military, and I'm not familiar with that college. Someone tells you that. Because, a lot of times we go to different colleges in the military because they take care of us and, combined our MOS or AOCs and gives us credit for it. But Tracy, you got this comparison between this education you got in the military and the education that people are getting in the corporate world, and you're competing for these jobs.
Uh-huh.
So Tracy, is Tracy going to play the character of the one actually being classified? So who's going to be the interviewer?
And let's have who wants to be the interviewer?
Raise your hand.
You got everyone speak. Hand raised. So Tracy, I'm your interviewer. Man, you know what? Man, you look like you got a lot going on there, man. But I just can't compete with this this education that you put down from the military. What'd you do?
Well, I mean,
Well,
I just went around and I got some courses here. I wasn't always in an office environment. I did a lot of time in the field. So I took a lot of online classes or correspondence classes. But, the University of Maryland said that I did enough. So I was granted my degree in this subject. So,
were you in office? Did you deploy?
Well, when I was in, it wasn't called deployment, but I was assigned overseas. So I did 2 tours overseas. The first time I was with the 8th Infantry Division, and the only thing we did was go to the field. So all my courses was in the field. But when I was in Berlin, we was just stuck behind that wall. So I only took the courses that were available when we could get people who wanted to teach, because we didn't have teachers there. But they said that I did enough of the coursework, and that's why I was granted my degree.
Let me ask you this. I need to know several things, because your resume is not bad. We have to figure out what this education thing is that you have here. Did you see any action? Because we have an event coming up, and we really like to have somebody, present that's seen some action. Have you seen any action? Did you lose any limbs?
No, I haven't lost any limbs.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what, Tracy, we really appreciate you. And someone will be getting in contact with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I'm walking out the door already knowing they ain't gonna call me.
So let me ask the question.
Did you lose any limbs?
I'm
and that is so real, because
how about that?
yes, because they will actually, well, I see you're disabled, but you don't look disabled.
I hate that.
And it was like, but you weren't in during wartime. Okay, just because I wasn't in during wartime don't mean I didn't see action.
But we also want to say that, and I think maybe Livia has mentioned it, we do this.
Yes.
It's not just them.
Yes.
We do poke at the different services.
Yeah.
But there are people that truly believe that one is better than the other. And I think maybe Olivia said it, you can't even gauge that because the missions aren't the same.
Exactly.
But then also we have it in the military. I've always been support. So, okay, your support.
I mean, I remember my dad making a comment of that, right? There was an acronym about, you know, if you weren't combat arms, you were, you know, a derogatory word. That's just the way it was, you know?
Were you going to say RIMF?
Right? but that's just the way it was. And I'd be lying. Was, still is in many ways. You know, the one thing, you know, I've said this in podcasts and in other conversations is that internally when we talk amongst military, we love to give each other crap about different services. But, you know, the one thing that I think when we talk about the same things, whether, you know, when we suffer a loss, at the end of the day, we all come together, right?
Yeah.
Army, Marine Corps, Navy, it's all the same. But, you know, during football season, of course, it'll be Go Army, beat Navy.
Oh, Army.
But you know what?
All right, let me jump in real quick, April, because I can speak to this because earlier when I can't see her name right now, but the other Marine on here, when she was Queen Motivator.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that wasn't my story. And I mean, I was in the 80s. I know, I'm looking at her. I know she long after me.
Yeah, way.
But I done stood on shoulders before she got up in that joker, trying to ride it like she had to ride it. But now, of course, the Marine Corps has got much more opportunities for women. You can work in, like you said, infantry. That wasn't even what infantry? Girl, we're about to kick you out because that was not even that wasn't even an option. But my point of why I wanted to bring it up is that it is very real, and there's a cycle over a period of time. What years did you serve, by the way? What years did you serve?
Oh, me? I served from 1981 to 1992.
Okay, Queen Motivator.
Me? 2011 to 2019.
Right. And I joined 1982 and got out in 1989. And it doesn't make sense that our story should be that closely related. And I'm not going to repeat the things that she said, but what she was saying, if I didn't have to do that, yes, I had to do that. I had to be tougher than what 110% is what the Marine Corps says.
Right.
And let me be clear, we do judge on the branches. Michelle is on the line. Michelle and I have had many conversations about this.
Marine Corps.
As Jones and I definitely have. We can judge them other branches of the military that is not Army, okay? Real quick. Fast and in a hurry. Navy SEALs is about they gonna get as much props from me as I can give them. But anything else, I'm like looking at you like, really? I mean, really? You know, and it's sad because
it's real.
All the branches are different. And so that self-judging, April, that you're referring to, we can do it. And it's just the innocence of it all. And now, of course, like I served when there wasn't. We weren't active in the going away. I wasn't even allowed. Even if we were fighting a full-fledged war, when I served, we were there to free a man to fight. I was not going. No, by no means necessary. But at the same time, Army girls have been doing this thing for a long time. You know, jumping out of planes. Michelle she's jumped out so many planes. One of her disabilities, I'm telling you, business is her knees, because she didn't jump out of so many planes, right? But at the same time, that was not even possible when I served. And her and I served at the same time. So there's a lot of judgment that we do there that needs to be nurtured. Because do I not have 100% PTSD? Yes. From an MST issue, though. You know, and I dealt with that and I handled it. But bottom line, did I have some effects from that? Of course I did. Make no mistake about it. And so we got to get away from that. So that's good teaching that you're talking about.
Definitely. Alicia raised her hand also, April.
I didn't see it. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, Alicia did.
I just wanted to say that this topic definitely hits home for me a lot, because as I'm sure I'm the only Coastie, former Coastie on the line. It took a while before I would even go into anything veteran related, because I had that stigma on myself. And then going into spaces where I'm with other vets, and most of the time being the only one. And people, I mean, you know, from, again, everyone kind of knows each branch's mission. And so you know that, you know, a lot of coasties are not out there in the field being deployed, fighting any battles. But like you all said, the missions are different, and we have to also come to terms with ourselves, the importance of the role that we played as an organization, and the role that we played, you know, just in our while we were serving. So yeah, like my role was mostly support, but I ended up working with other branches in doing the sexual assault advocacy, and working with our search and rescue teams a lot of times when it came to loss of life type of things, and making sure that they were okay, and had counselors and stuff to talk to. So all of our roles are different. And yes, when we're going for jobs, and I'm in HR now, I'm an HR consultant, and I talk to a lot of my clients about that very thing. Number one, asking military members or former military members about what they did and how they did it and why this and why that is none of your business. Number two, not looking for a poster child for what you think a veteran looks like, especially a disabled vet. You know, disabled veterans come in all forms. Not all of them have lost limbs. Of course, that is horrible, you know, but there are a lot of things that veterans are dealing with that you would never know if you know, I'm 100%. People don't know, a lot of people don't know that. And when I do share that, people are, oh, well, what was wrong with you? And what's going on with you? You know, and it's like, number one, is none of your business. Like, there's a lot that goes on during our service outside of combat that might have an effect on us. And so it's just very interesting that all of these things came up. And since I've been out for the past 10 years, in some way, I've had to juggle with a lot of this. And you know, companies saying that they're veteran friendly and disabled vet friendly, and really when you get in, that's not the case. They don't want to make any accommodations. They don't want to, you know, but they do want to parade you around when it's time to and get those tax breaks when it's time for that. You know, so it's very interesting, and I'm glad that we're kind of, you know, talking through and working through all of this, and have some of the shared experiences. But I just thought I wanted to comment, because I'm like, I always used to be so shy about, they're like, what service? And I'm like, Coast Guard, you know.
I would like to share something, you guys. The Coast Guard, which most people do not know because they don't know anything about the Coast Guard, because it's kind of a weird ancillary service. You guys are the only ones that are allowed to operate within the borders of the country. You guys get called on every damn thing that goes south. You guys get called on every chemical spill that goes into any waterway, even if it's a little creek in the middle of Nebraska. You guys get called on all kinds of dangerous shit everywhere, all along the coast, all within the country. And I just don't think people realize how broad and how dangerous the mission is. So I always give my coastie girls a big applause, because I don't think people know how dangerous that service is, because it's small like the Marines, but it's really damn dangerous. So, because my best friend's a coastie, and she was one of the first when they brought women back in, and she had to train everybody, and they had no uniforms, they didn't have anything in the early 70s. So yeah, you guys do great. I think Coast Guard's pretty cool service. So.
And we Michelle has her hand raised, and we have Jada that just joined us.
Hey, Jada.
Michelle, you want to go ahead and chime in?
Yeah, a couple of things that I wanted to say. You mentioned one thing that I mentioned. I talked about knowing the institution in which you're in, and sometimes even we do not have a full scope of being able to articulate what we do. And what I mean by that, and working with private sector companies And when you said, I didn't deploy, but, I stayed back and, I did 2 tours overseas, etc. First of all, I'm going to tell I always say this. Most civilians don't know a dang thing. They don't know what you mean about being in the field. They may be thinking a cornfield. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And how we deliver our own messaging, to be able to articulate, no, I didn't deploy. However, I stayed on station. And our on station was 18 hours a day. You're running 600, 700 people through, to get them ready, whatever those things may be. So being able to articulate that, knowing what we do and articulating that. The other thing is, I will say this, I've never said equal, it will never be equal. Because the reality is what each one of us in whatever classification, whatever it may be, it is never going to be equal. It is equitable based upon what we are tasked or what we signed up to do, period. Some jobs are physically harder, some jobs are mentally harder. It depends. So everything is not equal, but it's how you articulate it. And then couple things, last things I want to say is, when you talk about, you mentioned organizations saying they're veteran friendly. My thing is this. Oh, I took my video off because I got my little girl braids on. See my little girl flag. Anyway, and when an organization saying they're veteran friendly, I ask them, are you really friends with veterans? That's what I need to know. Okay. So there is a marked difference. The other thing that I want to say, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, we mentioned officer versus enlisted. Okay. In any given force, the enlisted always outnumber the officers in terms of numbers. If you ask private sector the difference between a lieutenant colonel and a major, they couldn't tell you. They know captain, they might know lieutenant, and they know general. Okay? Anything in between, they don't know. In enlisted side, they know private, and they know sergeant, and they don't know anything else. So if we're not able, and part of this process of making change and affecting cultural change within any of the services, and even across the services, the Air Force does not deploy their NCOs the way that the Army does. That doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. But how you utilize your non-commissioned officers, even in the Navy, so even in the Marines, each branch uses them differently. So if you can't speak to it, how can you expect to affect change? So I always say, know your subject. When we go forward, however we go forward, knowing your subject in and out to be able to articulate to affect change. If you ask about, for example, my last rank, Command Sergeant Major, there's 5 different levels of Command Sergeant Major. And there could be a general officer down at Fort Bragg in charge of 18th Airborne Corps, which is one of the largest forces in the Army. But my position as Command Sergeant Major or Sergeant Major of the entire Army Reserve was 1.2 million soldiers and families. Okay? General outranks me. Responsibility as Sergeant Major of the Army Reserve, my responsibility was greater because I had an entire force. Can you articulate that? Whatever it may be. If it's logistics, what is the scope, the breadth, the depth of what you did in that logistical field? So if we can't articulate the things within our known sphere, how can we expect to affect change for acceptance of what each person brings to the table? And that's all I have to say.
And I think all of these points, like I said, are all important. And this is all for like organizations or individuals that tune into our ISM series to take back, have conversations amongst yourself, with your friends, family, and stuff like that. And just kind of break through these walls, because like I said, we don't know what we don't know. And if we turn a blind eye to it, it's like it never even existed, but it is going on every day in our world. So
That's great.
everything that we're talking about, people have experienced, and we're going to do a last scenario, and then we'll do a total Q&A, and go down the line, and definitely thank you, Jada, for joining us too. The last bit of it is I want to go into one thing I find is higher education. Higher education where there's classification, um, higher education where there's classification of, you know, um, getting in there, or I went here, I went this where, or whatever, higher education, or oh, you're not smart enough, or different things that, like, you're poor or whatever. So getting into higher education scenario, and this get some new people, switch it up a little bit, April. You set up the scenario of time, place, what school, and set it up with the two people, and then we'll time after that one.
Would you be upset if I change the scenario totally?
You can do whatever you want to.
Because what I
Coach.
would like to do is about getting help.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Coach.
So Jada, I would like to work with Jada, but she has said she's just peeking in. Jada, you want to play?
Yeah, I'll play.
Okay.
So Jada, you're were you military?
I was. I'm civilian.
Okay, even better. So we're gonna say that you were military, and
Okay.
Your situation is you served in Desert Storm, and you're coming to get some help.
Okay.
You got some mental health issues, you got some teeth issues, some back issues, and so you're coming to get help.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start it off, and then we're gonna have someone switch positions with me. So you know what? I'm so glad that you came in to see us. We got a lot of programs. We're ready for you. We appreciate your service. Thank you so much. So you served in 9/11?
No, Desert Storm.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. This program is only for people that are post 9/11.
Wow.
Man, I do appreciate your service. I'm glad everything that you've done for your country, but
so it's nothing you can do for my back, my teeth. It's you can't help me with anything.
Oh, ma'am, I am so sorry that happened to you. But this program is only for post 9/11.
Wow.
Man, you look pretty good though. Are you?
So what do you have available for someone like me? I mean, someone that served, my country, and I mean, I need help too. I need resources as well. So what resources are available for me?
Man, right now I have a thank you. I appreciate you, but again, we can only service post 9/11. So at this point, we say stop, and who we gonna put in, Mo? Woo, Alicia over there shaking her head.
Michelle is raising her hand over there. She might want to
do some of that, Michelle. We'll switch places.
Michelle.
No, I wasn't raising my hand. That's from the last time. I'm sorry.
All right, let's get Lori in there. We
Go ahead, Lori.
Miss Lori.
Y'all gonna stop pulling on me.
We had a break.
I'm a multitasking kind of chick. Okay, I'm trying to work and chew on food.
You got Miss Jada there. She.
Okay, because this is real talk. Okay, so I'm talking to now Jada.
Yep.
Okay.
And you can only service anyone that's post 9/11, and she is not.
Right. And I do get that. Okay, so ma'am, unfortunately, Miss Jada, they have set up all these systems based off of the post 9/11 individuals that have joined, because that was the time when war actually took place in this country, and we really see those specific veterans with much more needs than any of the others.
Wow.
I can refer you back to maybe a veteran service organization or something, and they might be able to give you some options about the other things that are out there. But I think the best thing for you is to get 100% disability at the Department of Veterans Affairs. It's about the only way you're gonna really get what you need.
That's the only way.
That's pretty much it, ma'am. I'm so sorry though, because we're getting our funding based off of post 9/11, and so I mean, if your documentation doesn't prove that, the DD2 whatever, I forgot what it's called, if it doesn't actually tell us that you served during that time period, we're not going to be in a position.
So Jada, this lady that you're talking to is nice. She's not being disrespectful. She would love to help you. You just don't qualify. So I ask you, in your body, where do you feel that? Where do you feel that rejection, that you served your country, you fought for your country, you have all these issues and nobody's there for you? Where do you feel that in
my heart?
In your heart. And if you could give us a sound, one sound, what does that sound like?
It doesn't. It's silent.
Oh, damn. Wow.
I mean, because she has to actually how she's acting too.
That's
her body language. Defeated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Totally defeated.
Yeah.
So again, and as Mo has done a great job at, diversity within the She Wins is also bringing in women, because again, this struggle is a women issue, and we want to fight it together. So it's important that Jada, who has not served and may not even know, she might even work at the VA. It doesn't matter. People just don't know. They think that we're getting everything because VA has all this money and everyone is being serviced. Everyone is not. So again, it goes back a lot to what Michelle was saying. You got to know your organization. You got to know the rules of engagement before you try to tackle the fight. But the embodiment of this work puts you in a position where I can tell you the story and you'll feel sorry for me, but it's different when you feel it. It's a struggle. She ain't even said that she might have 3 kids, that are sitting out in the car, and this is real deal. And she's just trying to get some help. And then we start counting the numbers of the people that are gone. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but again, we need to start looking at root cause analysis of the issues when we want them to make change. Thank you, Jada. We absolutely appreciate your support.
You're welcome.
How did you feel about it?
I wish I was shocked.
Yeah.
I wish I was shocked.
That's sad.
Although it's still new information for me. It's just like another scenario that we've heard before,
So you're friends with Tony, right?
Yeah.
The Queen Motivator.
Yeah.
So you probably heard Tony say things, but how is it when someone is telling you that your teeth are not going to get fixed, you're in pain, and you serve, but you don't? It's like she's telling you don't deserve anything.
Absolutely, yeah. I can see that it could be very frustrating. Yeah.
Beyond.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, I want to, and since, we were talking about children, Olivia's over there with her beautiful kids right now. They're so cute. So, I mean, what is your take on this, with this scenario, Olivia? You get out eventually, and you're going through this, just say, God forbid, you need help and you got your kids. What is your take on this?
So, it's interesting because I'm in the business of resource, right? Searching for resources and then sharing in Soldier for Life. And I've been at this job for almost 2 years now, and I have about a little over a year left by the time I retire. And that was shocking to hear and learn in the first 6 months of my job. I had no idea that there was these classifications based on when you served. Like, to me, that boggled my mind. Like, if you served, regardless of when you served, you should be able to have resources. Now, I totally got that it was based on your DD 214 in terms of honorable or dishonorable. Like, that made sense to me. If you're dishonorable, I could see why resources weren't given to you. But now let me caveat that part. It wasn't until I went to the Women Veterans Interactive annual diversity conference 2 years ago. It was the first time I had gone. And at the end of the seminar, after I'd already, given my speech that day, an Army veteran came up to me and she point blank said, "I can't get resources. I admit I screwed up in the Army and I went to jail. And by the time I got out of the jail, all these resources weren't available to me. And my DD 214 says less than honorable." And not only that, because I went to jail, you know, there's a felony on my record. So my life is hard. And oh, by the way, I'm a single mom. And I know I made that mistake and I own that. But can I get a hand, right, in helping me get better in my life so I could do better for my child? And that was eye-opening because I had no idea that she couldn't get resourcing. And then it made me look at my own biases, you know, because you think the way we're taught in society that if you break a law, you're horrible, you're a bad person, you don't deserve anything, you know. And then here's this woman, and I spent the day with her not knowing that was her story. And we had a great conversation. We talked about the Army and different things. And it wasn't until the end of the day I found out her story that made me realize that up until that moment, I valued her. I believed in her. And it was when you find out that she had this negative derogatory report on her, all of a sudden, you know, my view of her changed. And I realized I had to check that.
Yeah.
And so that brings it fast forward. So in our resourcing, what we do for Soldier for Life is how do we find resources? Because there are 40,000 organizations that are in the business of helping our veterans. But finding within that 40,000, the actual veteran service organizations that are willing to take on those that have served before 9/11 and those that are going to help that particular lady in terms of, hey, I don't have an honorable discharge, but I need help and I want to do better. So how do I do that? And because there are some things that she ended up getting in her life, right? There are disabilities that she had because she did serve, right? There are injuries to her body. There are mental issues that she has to go through. And those happened long before she became a bad soldier. And when I realized and put that all
Why she
together,
became a bad soldier.
yeah, that I realized I have to look at this differently. And so I would say that, you know, going back to we're tired of just talking, what is the call to action? And that is the call to action that I take back to the organizations is, great, you are helping those that are the easiest to help because that is the easiest fish to fish. You need to start looking at how you're going to help those that are hard to help. And I get, you know, once every 6 months, I'll get an organization that will have a little bit of money and they'll come to me, hey, what should I do with this money? And I'm like, here, this is where you need to start looking. Go look at the homeless women veterans. Start there. By the time you start digging into that alone, you will realize that there's more work for you than you have time, energy, or money to go after. Start there.
And one of the other things too, talking about like resources and things like that, there are so many more resources than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Even when I was serving, they were just getting, like, they were stopping a lot of the discrimination against certain groups of people. And they were kicking them out, and a lot of them weren't getting their benefits. But there are a lot of organizations, especially working at the DC mayor's office, is that you see them not going by their dishonorable discharges. And if someone does come into our office, ask them to be as transparent as possible with me so I can give them the best resources. Because I'm a post 9/11 veteran, and there are so many resources we can utilize, and we're getting more percentages than, you know, the people before us. But we have organizations that will do free pro bono work for veterans to do DD-214 upgrades. Not only DD-214 upgrades, while you wait for your upgrades, there are resources you can utilize for low-income families because you will meet those requirements due to a lot of veterans either being single parents or just individuals that are single like me. So it really, really, really depends on the part of the region that you're in. And then how do you tap into that source? And on top of that, what other small businesses that cater to veterans to the point of financial assistance, for military sexual trauma. I know the VA is partnering with a lot of small businesses that are veteran owned and operated to ensure that we're receiving the best quality assistance outside of the actual VA. So it really depends on, you know, your knowledge too, but at the same time, how far do the veteran want to go to seek these type of resources. And I've seen this on the day-to-day. A lot of veterans do not want, they're frustrated already. We're frustrated already. We don't care what you got to say. I'm already poor, I'm broke. Versus a homeless veteran versus me who is not homeless, there are a lot of opportunities that I may have and push forward to because I've had that background in knowing how to research and get what I need. Like you said, like we talked about earlier, not everybody was in the same field. Not everybody's in the same field now, whether you're a veteran or a civilian. It's really about saying, hey, I'm gonna go after what I need. I've just seen veterans not be consistent because they don't want to do the work.
Mm.
And I agree. So as a communicator, on top of, you know, the job that I do in Soldier for Life, and that is the call to action that I give to everybody, right? So I know that we talk about the call to action to companies and organizations, but it's the individual call to action. And it starts with the simple part of telling your story. When you tell your story and when you share your full picture, then people can come to understand the full complexity of what it means to assist. Until I had that conversation with her and understood her full problem, I had no idea. And and I also believe in telling your story, there's healing through that. There's healing in saying that I acknowledge it. It's not going to consume my life anymore, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to do something about it by simply sharing. And that's how we start changing that paradigm. And then when we share that story, we are now asking those resources to do their part. And so I think the big part is having conversations like this, you know, like that Mo puts together, and saying, hey, these are some really real things, and then looking at yourself in the mirror and checking your own biases and your own beliefs, and say that I do have them. I have my own biases towards race, gender, equality, and all of those things. And how do you come to grips with it, and how do you move beyond that for everybody, for a positive change?
So let me ask, I'm putting this out to the group, but I'm making reference to Queen and Olivia. So as a leader, I gotta be careful, right? In or out, I gotta be careful, because I am saying that you need to speak up, but we just had a sister that got killed. Ain't nobody getting ready to speak up. I'm not getting ready to tell you my story because they're killing people. So why would I tell you my story? We gotta take this into account. That is why this work is important, because I know my brain, I've been damaged and hurt, but I was a fighter. For what reason? I think it was only God. But I'm saying that I'm putting myself in their shoes, and I'm saying they're not gonna tell. They're not, I wouldn't, how can I keep you safe? So I'm asking you to tell and stand up, and the voices have to be heard. I respect that. That's why I do it. But I've been damaged. I was damaged before I came in the military. I'm damaged now. They beat me down. I've been assaulted. I got kids. My husband beat me. You want me to believe in what? You want me to tell what? These are the people that we have out there, guys. Ain't nobody ever did shit for me. Now you're telling me what to do, and I'm asking you for help? Do you want to piss me off? I'm begging for help, and then you turn around, and this is not in reference to my sisters, but then the system turns around and says, April, you got to do X, Y, and Z. I'm telling you, it took everything in me to just get up this morning and come in here and ask for help.
No.
These are the people that we have.
And April, I'm glad that you said that, because I would tell you that I was confronted with that exact situation, right? Because it's easy to be the do-gooder. It's easy to be the good idea fairy, right? And it honestly, most of that comes from a good place, right?
Yes,
Right.
Comes
absolutely it does.
You want to change the world.
Yep.
And I will tell you that in that situation, you know, it was a little bit of, I'm going to have to shut the fuck up right now and listen, right?
Yes.
And really listen to what she was saying to me.
Yes.
And then after saying, okay, let me rephrase and make sure I got what you're airing your grievances for. And now let's make a list, and let's go through that list one by one. But let's lay this table out and make sure you understand, we're not going to be able to get through this today. Let's talk this through and let's build a plan. Because that's what the Army teaches us, right? That's what the military has taught us, how to be good leaders and how to be good planners. Now let's put that into motion. And then here's the other part. And I was honest with that individual. You have every right to be angry. And yes, I'm not going to understand everything that you went through. And I'm probably not going to get this right. So let's be honest there. Here's the second part. You have to be honest with yourself, and to me, that you have to take part in this journey yourself. You have to be able to come to some level and say that I'm going to do a little bit of work. But you have to tell me where that is. Until you define that for me and where that limit is, I can't help you, because I'm going to keep sitting on that seat of, I want to be a do-gooder and I don't understand. And I'll tell you that that was a very, very, very tough conversation. Probably the toughest one I've had in my career, but it was probably the most rewarding conversation at the end, because we came to a place of understanding, hey, the truth is I'm not going to be able to help you all the way through, but I can get you going, and it's up to you to start walking that walk. And then connecting her in the business that I do with the resources that are going to help her. But you're right. I think part of this conversation is having that real conversation, that it's not going to be a perfect conversation. People are going to come at you, and you have to realize that they're coming at you from a place of hurt, but it's not me that she was attacking. It was just what she was going through and what she has gone through. And so I would say that, again, you still have to share the story when you're ready, right?
Definitely.
And
I
it's
got
not
two things.
when you're ready.
And due to time constraint,
Oh,
we're gonna have to wrap up soon.
okay. Well, I'll shut it up.
We have 4 people raising their hands right now at the moment. We have 4 people. We have Tracy, Alicia, Lori, and Michelle.
I'll write my comments over on the side.
Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up with the comments, and when you chime in, let's try to make them really, really quick, so we can wrap up with the close up with April. So we're gonna go ahead and go with Tracy first, and then we'll go down the line and come back in again.
All right, mine's is really going to be quick, because I'm that quote unquote Cold War era soldier that is, when we were talking about caretakers, we're the only group in the military that have no caretaker benefits, none whatsoever. I would get benefits for a caretaker because I have a Berlin campaign badge. But anybody else who serves, so we've got to work on that. When we talk about we're taking care of our soldiers, and we got to go back to stop saying, okay, if you're not this type of soldier, this type of soldier, this type of soldier, then you don't have anything. And a veteran is a veteran. If they've got disability, they should be eligible for caretaker services. We've got to find a way to fix that. So I'll end on that one, since we got time restraints.
Okay, Alicia.
That I put it down. That was from earlier when I spoke. Thank you.
Okay, Lori.
Okay, I put one thing over on the side, but just real quick, I do know that there's been some conversations with some people about, and I heard someone else talk about how to get the DD 214 changed, but there's been some conversation about trying to help some of the dishonorable individuals get honorable based off of the fact that their behavior, the things they've done while they served, actually was based off of things they were experiencing while they were serving, whether it was PTSD, MST, or anything like that. So people that actually have that argument and that debate, that's starting to be looked at. And then the second piece is, and I don't think you might be plugging, is that the Women's Veterans Business Coalition, which is brand new, just got announced this week or this month, I'm actually chairing, and that was just an amazing thing to be asked to do this. But bottom line is, I've been on the Hill a few times speaking, so they said, Lori, you'll be a good one to be in front of the game. But bottom line is, other than focusing on trying to make things great for women veterans that are in business, they're also going to take on some things like what you all are discussing. So the good news is that, bottom line, there's an entity that has had major impact on the Hill. They brought about a lot of great changes in women-owned small businesses getting certification with President Obama, a woman-owned small business being a 5%, which is higher than any percentage within government contracting funding. You know, the Madison Group, the bad chicks, okay? So mother-daughter team at this point, but they are now going to focus also on women veterans. And that's because the staffers on the Hill are asking them. So this is not just, oh, we want to help veterans. No, no, no. They're being inquired on the Hill about women veterans. What are their needs? What are they dealing with? What are they going through? So I do expect Moji to get attached to it along with the rest of you guys, because then I can help get you involved as far as sitting on the Hill and having conversations. But what I'm hearing here needs to be told to some of the political figures that can make change, right? Because that's what we really want.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you. And Laura, can you please drop that information in the chat? Tony is running the chat and stuff, and she'll be pulling that information. And Michelle, real quick.
Yeah, I just had a question. Olivia, you're still in, right?
I am. I retire 1 September 2021. So I'm working on my retirement paperwork to go in.
Okay. Congratulations to you. I'll just say we need to have a sidebar because it's going to look real different from where you sit right now. Even as much as you've been in the Soldier for Life program, it's going to look a whole lot different once you take it off. Period. I mean, you have a lot of influence right now. Not saying that you won't coming out, but again, a sidebar for you, and that's an offer.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're all here for us.
Olivia, I'll share Michelle's phone number with you so you two can connect and stuff. And everybody's placed their information in the box, and Tony's going to be sending that stuff out.
And then the last thing I want to say, it will be announced soon. Not that I'm running for office, but I'm not running for office. However, I am standing with a candidate.
Girl, don't get me excited.
And that candidate, and anybody that knows me, I've been a surrogate speaker before. But I'm standing with a candidate, not to make this political, but one of the strongest pieces that you will hear more about very soon is women veterans and their plans. So that's all I'm going to say right now.
Good.
Sometimes we all attack it from the way in which we can. Okay, so you all know that when it comes to the political beast, y'all just know how I am. I'll just put it that way. And I've just, I'm on 2 new boards also, so I'll share all those details later because this ain't very private. But it's private, but it's not real private. But anyway, so that's all I'm going to say.
We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Please make sure everybody puts their email down there so we can share further information and stuff. And also, Lori has a conference coming up soon that we will have to share the information for. I think tomorrow we're having a talk about it, but make sure everyone shares their information so we can everyone can connect. The next session that we'll have of isms will be next month, and that one is discussing colorism. Colorism. You know, there's a generational thing, there's a cultural thing, you know, and traditional thing. So that's gonna be really deep. So we're gonna talk about colorism. And, we're gonna talk about colorism next month. We'll send out the dates for that segment, which will be another interesting segment. But first of all, before we wrap up, April, you're outstanding in the work that you do. And changing lives. Can get a round of applause for April for what she does, and Shalisa, thank you for joining us too and hanging in there with us. You are amazing at what you do. This work that you're doing is transforming and changing people. And I'm looking forward to when everything's over and we're able to do it face to face so they can really see the intensity and the interaction of how this works. But this bits and pieces people can take home and even practice amongst their family members. Maybe to even spark up questions about, you know, generational trauma they're dealing with, or issues and stuff they're dealing with family members, you know. And when you're doing this stuff, you don't have to mention names. They don't have to know who the person is, but the person is acting it out, and you're breaking down walls and barriers. So it's amazing work. Tony, thank you so much for, you know, coming together with me to partner to do this. Queen Motivator. We put the link to the website there in the chat box. Amazing resources for women in general. And I put the link for the group for She Wins Network in there also on Facebook if you want to join and stuff like that. Any final words? And Olivia, everybody, all of you women that joined us today, Lori, make sure you pick up Lori's book, amazing book she has.
Yes.
As my leaders go, so do I. And our coastie out here, Alicia, Jada, everyone, Michelle, Tracy, Olivia, everybody. Just thank you all, ladies, so much for joining us today. You could be anywhere else, but you're here with us, trying to break down barriers and open up conversations to people. But April, final closing thoughts, and Tony, go ahead.
We have a lot of work to do, and every woman has said it. It's time to make movement. It's all about a call to action. So we're getting in and trying to use this and other methods to just break down barriers. And we have to be able to listen to one another. Like Michelle has said over and over again, you got to understand the rules of engagement. You can't break them. So we got to see them as allies. We need them, and we got to go in smarter and not work harder.
Definitely. And Tony?
I just want to say, don't assume that people aren't doing the groundwork. They're, you know, we're not out here. I know I don't say much on video, but but just know that great things are happening within the women veteran community. Outside of that, just military and military families. I think military families are very, very, very important. They're discounted on so many ways, in so many ways. But yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking out the time. I appreciate each and every one of you. Shalisa, she's the Air Force veteran in here.
Air Force.
Really got diversity up in here.
Yes.
And Olivia, final thoughts?
Just thank you, ladies, for having this excellent discussion. I think when we are honest with each other and peel this back is really where we start healing, and we really start talking about how do we go forward. And, you know, it's been said, each one of us has a role to play, and we all have to take part of that. And, you know, rely on your strengths. And my strength is social media and being a communicator. And so that's where I'll always have that conversation. And I invite people to dialogue back with me. It's when we check our own biases and our own thoughts that we can really learn from that and move forward, so that we can change for the better, for our community, for yours, for mine, for my children, your children. So thank you so much for allowing me to take part in this.
Definitely. Lori, final thoughts? I can't hear you, Lori. You're on mute.
I thought I hit the button. There we go. I want to agree with what everybody just said, because the key is that the discussion still has to be held over and over and over again, and we need to check our biases. That was definitely on point, Olivia. We have to check our own, because we got them, you know, and let's all make it happen and stay together. And the shout out for my conference is coming. Michelle and Moji is going to be leading in some spots, and yeah, it's on and popping for those girls that's trying to keep it moving. So thank you all for being a supporter of Moji, because she all that. She all that.
That's big coming from big sis Lori. Michelle, I know you. The final thoughts, Michelle. Final thoughts.
I have nothing to say. Other than it is a blessing. Truly, it is a blessing, and it's amazing. Just with all of you on the line today, and as always, you know, our heart is all in the right place. We all have our own individual, you know, talent, skills, and ways that we do things. And the beautiful thing about it is we do the same, and some we do differently. And we all respect those differences, but we all bring it together. So for anybody to say women can't do things together, I'm gonna be nice. They can just go somewhere. I was gonna say something else, but because I got my little hoodie rat on right now, so I was gonna be
Representing be more in the house.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm gonna keep it clean today. I'm gonna keep it clean, but no, this is a beautiful thing. So I just say it's a blessing to be on with all each and every one of you. It truly is. So
thank you so
God
much.
is gracious and amazing.
Amen. And we have some newcomers. Some of these are regulars, our normal speakers that in, but definitely April guiding us through this whole series has been amazing and enlightening.
Yeah.
And I just want to ask, because we had the newcomers, just to give us a really quick feedback from the whole aspect of this whole thing that you've heard today. What is your takeaway from this, Tracy?
I knew you was gonna call on me.
I do.
The fact is that you've got 10 women on here. It's going to take all 10 of us to speak for one women veteran.
Mm.
The fact that we can come together to do it is my takeaway. There's always going to be us, no matter who needs to be there. So I will be here. Thank you.
Amen. Alicia, takeaway.
This has just been amazing for me to witness and to have a voice and to be able to give a little bit in it. Things have been very difficult for me lately because I've been isolating or having to isolate more than normal. And it's affected me a lot. And things like this, to be with like-minded women who are out there pushing forward, pushing change, and not only talking about it, but being about it. This is just very motivating for me and something that I really needed in this moment. So I just thank each and every one of you. And this has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And Shalisha, you've been on mute for a minute. What's your takeaway real quick before we wrap up?
I actually came in late, but this was really great. I really want more of us to be here because I think this is awesome and this is rare. Even though we're in this really big area of a lot of us, it's still rare for us to come together like this. So this is actually really good for me. And I was late, but I've been on before for the others in the panels and everything. And I always have just an amazing time and just love to see and hear from everybody else.
Definitely. Thank you. And this is what it's about. It's not about us, it's about the people. And self-awareness, enlightenment, and it's not about organizations or anything like that. This is for you to take back for self-healing, your family, organization. It doesn't matter. It's all about a learning lesson, and us is coming together as women to empower and uplift each other and understand that we don't know what we don't know. And it's great to learn from people who have already been there, who are about to go there, and who are continue to walk in the way of leadership. And that's why I love you all, ladies, and thank you so much. And if you're tuning in, if you didn't join us today, in the future, you'll be able to see the chop up of the series from the racism to the social to sexism and colorism, because we'll chop up the series for you all to see it. But if you're in the She Wins group and other groups, we'll be sharing it so you can take on and have discussions and comments and take them home for yourself. So remember that if she wins, and we all win, and that's something that was coined between me and April. So if she wins, we all win. So pour into another female. I challenge you today to support a woman in business, a sister, uplifter, because this is what it would be about. And understand that you need to become fearless, because you know what? You are abundant. And remember that life might throw you a curveball, but you're always in charge of the direction it goes. All right, I bid you adieu. Thank you, ladies.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye.